somewhere in the Pacific Ocean where the water is clear blue and the air is always warm. There is a row of islands. Some islands are big and some islands are small, but all of them are covered in lush tropical jungles. And all of them have beautiful beaches made of creamy sand that melts into the sea and turns it turquoise. So when you look at these islands from above, they look like magical glittering jewels. On the tiniest island, there lived a boy called Matai. He had lived on the island all of his life. He knew everything about his simple village life and how it was to grow up with nature all around him. But he was not going to be a boy forever. That's why our story begins with the night before his 17th birthday. It was a calm and peaceful night. The air was thick and heavy because the rains had come that day. The sky was indigo and navy because the sun had only just disappeared behind the sea. And the waves were gentle as they slapped against the sandy shore because tonight the ocean was at peace. Matai wandered along the beach, dragging his feet through the fine, powdery sand. He liked to feel it run through his toes and over the tops of his feet. He especially liked to do it when he had some serious thinking to do. You see, tonight was the night before his 17th birthday. Tomorrow he was going to sail on his father's tiny boat and head east for the mainland. He wasn't worried about sailing. He had sailed all his life. That wasn't what bothered him this evening. What bothered him was the lesson he was supposed to be learning. It was customary, you see, for all the boys to decide what they wanted to learn about life before they woke up on their special birthday. Some chose to learn about money. Some chose to learn about love, and others chose to learn about knowledge. Whatever they chose, they had to carve it into the side of their boat before leaving. The trouble was that Matai couldn't decide what he most wanted to learn about. He had 6 older brothers that had all been to the mainland and come back, and they had all told him about everything they had learned. He had already heard about love and knowledge and money and a lot of other things. He didn't want to have to learn about them all again. His mind wandered to his family house. It was always so full and busy. Brothers, wives, children, all of them were always coming and going, squawking and chattering. There was always something on the stove, something being burned, something being cleaned. There was never any peace. Then Matai's foot collided with something round and hard. He looked down to see a coconut fresh from off the tree. He smiled. There was an old wives' tale on the island that if you ran into a coconut, it meant that you were going in the right direction. Matai picked it up in his hands. He felt its weight and the liquid inside of it sloshing around. Peace. That's what he wanted to learn about. Where could he find the greatest peace in life? Carefully, he carried the coconut to the edge of the jungle. He didn't know what made him do it, but he noticed an odd clearing in between 3 jagged rocks, and he felt the weight of the coconut shift. Before he knew it, he was digging a deep, deep hole right in the center of the clearing. When the hole felt deep enough, he lowered the coconut into it and made a wish to learn where he could find the greatest peace in life. Then he covered the coconut with the earth and the sand, feeling it gritty against his fingers. He patted the top layer smooth, and he cupped his hands to carry water from the nearest puddle to pour over the top. Then he made his way home. The next morning, Matai woke up to the sun. He dressed in his travelling clothes and packed up all he would need for the journey. When he came into the kitchen, his whole family cheered for him and patted him on the back. His mum brought out his favourite breakfast of sweet banana pancakes and everyone sang songs for him. Then they all hurried off to the harbour where the little wooden boat sat waiting for Matai. Matai took a special pointed tool in his hand and approached the boat. There on the side were all the lessons that his brothers and his father's father had asked for. All the men in his family had etched their mark into the wood. Matai ran his fingers over the words. They felt rough and bumpy to the touch. Then he took his tool and etched peace in the space left for him. He liked the way the wood gave away underneath the tool. It felt a bit like the feeling of scraping wax off a flat surface. He threw his bag into the boat and turned to his family. Finally, after many hugs and kisses and goodbyes and good luck wishes, Matai hoisted the sail and headed out into the deep, wide blue of the Pacific Ocean. It took Matai 21 days to reach the mainland. And his story of sailing we can tell on another night. But it's safe to say that he reached the land already older and wiser than he had been before. And when he got there, he started his task of learning to live a life he had never lived before. The mainland was busy, much busier than Matthias Island. Here there were only cities and towns, cars and buses, trains and airplanes. It seemed to Matai that everything was always moving. He could hardly keep up with the people and the way they walked and talked, as if there was always something urgent to do. But he knew he had to join them. And so, as quickly as he could, he found himself a place to stay and a place to work so he could work on his mission. And before he knew it, he was a part of the main man. Many months passed. Matai worked many different jobs. He made many different friends. He lived in many different parts of the cities and towns. He took many holidays and he visited many places to search for the greatest peace. But no matter where he looked, he never seemed to find it. There was always something to do, someone to see, something to say or listen to. Slowly, his family grew concerned. They would send him messages asking him to come home, but Matai always said no. The months turned slowly into years. Matai's hair started to turn grey, and still he had not learned where to find the greatest peace. At home, his family wondered what might have happened to him. The men in his family had even built another boat because they feared that Matai would never return. Then one day, when his brothers were old and crowned with white hair, and their sons had sons of their own, Matai returned. He came to land in the evening when the sun was just sinking below the sea, and everyone would be busy with their dinner. He wasn't ready to tell his family that he had not found what he had set out to learn so many years ago. He brought his boat to the beach instead of the harbour, and his heart was full of emotions. But when he jumped down from the boat and felt the soft sand between his toes, a wonderful sense of calm washed over him. He tied up the boat and breathed in the salty air that was thick and heavy because the rains had come that day. He began to walk along his beach, dragging his feet in the sand, just like he had done all those years back. He was thinking about all the times he used to walk like that when he remembered the coconut. He wondered what had happened to it. So he walked quietly up the beach and towards the jungle. He was just about to reach the jungle's edge when his jaw dropped. There in front of him, in a clearing between 3 jagged rocks, was the most magnificent coconut tree. Its leaves were lush and green. They fanned out like great wings. Its trunk was slender and creamy brown. Nestled in its top were bunches of great round coconuts. Perched in between the leaves were birds of all colours and shapes. They cooped softly and beat their wings gracefully. At the bottom of the tree, where the leaves provided shade, small plants had grown. Their delicate pink and white flowers were open now, and small bees hummed between them. Matai sat down under the coconut tree and felt a wave of pure peace move through him. How wonderful that his coconut had grown up so big enough to provide shelter for more life. He felt the earth beneath him and looked up at the green leaves of the tree. Something about the light bouncing off them made him feel good and happy. Just being here and looking at all the beauty made him feel still and soothed. He closed his eyes and felt a very deep sense of peace bubbling up inside him. The tree was so still, so silent, and so beautiful. All of a sudden, Matai realized the truth. Whilst he had been away, busy searching for peace, peace had been growing here all this time. True peace was with nature quietly growing and existing. As Matai sat with his eyes closed, he remembered all the time he had spent in nature as a boy, swimming in the sea and dragging his feet through the sand. How peaceful and happy he had been. He chuckled to himself. It had taken him a whole lifetime to realize what he had taken for granted as a child. But Matai was done with hard work. He was not going to be hard on himself now. He leaned back so that the trunk rested in between his shoulder blades. He felt the warmth of the sun baked into its bark. It felt so good to rest there. He felt himself take a great breath in. It filled up his lungs with the sweet evening air. As he breathed out, it was as if he was letting go of his lifetime on the mainland. The struggles and busyness melted away. Suddenly it was as if he was 17 years old again, resting after a long day of playing on the island. He felt his body relax and his eyelids grow heavier. And slowly, gently, he drifted off to sleep, where he dreamed of coconut trees and sunrises, and all the precious gifts that Mother Nature shows us every day.